Hey, 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 good morning, folks. Oh, there it is. All right, we almost didn't have a video today because I kept forgetting about it. So fortunately, Royce texted me. I kept forgetting off and on that about it. So anyway, that means I didn't get it posted because it was 8:20, and I had to rush to get everything set up, and as well as eat my breakfast. So here we are. All right. I think that's a funny video of my hand there. This is such a good camera and lens that I've got. So anyway, here we are. Hey, good morning, guys. Good. Thank you for the audio check there, Royce and Jennifer. I got to get this stuff out of the camera. Just doesn't look good. I haven't found a place for it. Actually, I do have a place. Anyway, tooth care. Trying new teeth care. All right. So I'm a little bit out of sorts. I've only had one cup of coffee, so first up is making some coffee. And I think today's the last day of winter. It's kind of heartbreaking, but earlier, like just half an hour ago, there was some really big flakes coming down. So we've got a good solid 2 inches, maybe 3 inches of snow up here. So the runoff creek will certainly be running soon. It's supposed to be like in the 50s this week. So all this snow is going to melt and fill up, and I'll probably get the runoff creek filling up. Hard to say though. Oh no, I'm pretty sure it will, because up from me it's even higher elevation and more snow. All right. Oh my goodness. Homemade Indian curry. I did that too once. I really got into wanting to, because I love Indian food and I wanted to make Indian food. So I started looking into it. And I was living in Seattle with a bunch of guys at the time. And every Monday it was somebody's turn to cook dinner. So I cooked this huge Indian dinner, lots of different stuff, and it turned out really good. I always tried to recreate foods that I liked. When I was like 11, I tried to make pizza dough so I could have my own pizza, because we're always broke, so I didn't get to eat food I liked. And then another one, I tried to make good popcorn with plenty of butter, because we never got to have much butter when I was a kid. And I did that one. And then, and then I tried to replicate the Santa Fe tacos from Taco Bell. Those were so good. And I tried to replicate those, because that was when they came out with that thick tortilla type thing. So I was always looking for that. Pita bread wasn't quite the same. And anyway, so that's why, same thing about Indian food. I wanted my own Indian food, and it actually worked out. So anyway, Indian chicken is the best. All right, let's get this coffee going, and then I can, then my mind will be on track a little better. Do we got any viewers? Oh yeah, hey, how about that? I didn't get the links posted anywhere, so I didn't know what to expect. But welcome to whoever you are there, to the Creekside, out at my home, where the coyotes roam. Haven't seen the elk for a while. I suspect I will. The herds always hang out here, and In the past, I've even followed them. Got to make my coffee. In the past, I've even followed them, and now I've got, with my good camera, I'm going to try to get some good photos of them this year. So we'll see. And then I've even got ducks down there. So I like walking down by the pond, but each time I walk down there and I see the ducks, I move back really quick because I don't want to startle them. I just hope that the dang coyotes aren't getting them at night if they're living there. It'd be really fun to have baby ducks, but I can't imagine they would survive the coyotes. So I don't know. I got to start shooting coyotes, I guess. Whew, all right. Well, so today's supposed to be the last blast of winter. In fact, it's supposed to be in the mid-40s today. So this morning was the very end of it, is really the reality of it. And although I don't want it to warm up, I certainly want the sunshine. But according to the forecast, it's supposed to be a few days before we get sunshine. So we'll see. It's always wrong. So no point in even looking at it. So I barely got a fire going here. And yet pretty dang warm. The door open. Life's easy. That's what I'm telling you, folks. No need to be stressed out. All that stress is from civilization wanting you to be stressed out. Because the more stressed you are, the more sugar you buy, the more alcohol you buy, the more coping. That's the way it is. Civilization is all about coping. And people don't need to cope if they're not stressed out. So you stress them out. It's all by design, guys. I wish people would realize that. In fact, I just posted on Facebook about the tariffs. I saw some dumb media news, classic lamestream media did a story on this small business owner who was just so relieved that the tariffs were shot down, whatever that ruling was recently, and how that really benefits her. And meanwhile, she's got a deadline for filling out and sending in profits every spring. And yet she doesn't complain about that. Where's the videos about that? About how much that's hurting small business. And a lot of people don't realize that it was only 1913 when Congress voted in income taxes, and the IRS was formed because of that. Before that, the federal government only got their money from tariffs and excise tax. I mean, primarily that's what it was. And government can't be powerful if they're restricted money. So they all voted in to have a, not all, but enough so they could start having all of us give them money. And now we saw what happened with Doge, where it revealed that there's billions in waste. And that can only happen. I mean, if they're collecting tariffs, then they could do some waste and all that, but it wouldn't be on our dime so much. So anyway, that's how they manipulate everybody, get them against things that are good for us. And then all these people that complain about the tariffs, it's like, well, sure, it's going to be a little bit difficult here in the immediate, because it's like, you break your arm, you're going to be going through some discomfort for a while, but that doesn't mean you don't fix it. But anyway, people don't people fall for all that agenda. They see the corporations raising prices, and so they look for the easiest target, and that is tariffs. And then they, like lemmings, fill out their IRS tax forms and send money in. It's like, well, why don't complain about tariffs on the basis of, oh, it's expensive, if you're not going to complain about income tax being expensive. It just, when you see that stuff, you realize it's all just about manipulation and keeping people stressed out. Because if you're stressed out, then you're going to cope. You're going to look for a nicer car, nicer house, entertainment, which has advertisements, and you're not going to complain about advertisements because it's too much of a fight. You can't fight it. And then you're going to buy all kinds of coping stuff like coffee, but sugar and all this junk that's not good for us, when all we got to do is live a stress-free life. Shut it all out. Don't listen to them. I hate to prioritize money, but not understanding money is one of the biggest issues. So anyway, let's get some coffee. All right. But I'm fine. I've beat the system. So I'm just sharing all this stuff for all the people in the city. I'm happy, especially when the snow's falling. That's when I do wish I had windows, though. Well, the morning sunshine and the snow falling. That's when I wish I had windows. Because sometimes in the morning like that, I didn't want to have the door open, so I didn't get to watch the snow. Oh well. At least we got a nice blanket of snow now. Whew. AeroPress. It's a great way to make coffee. All right. Well, I didn't expect to be talking about tariffs this morning, but I saw that dumb video. How many people are falling for that? So the federal government can keep doing what they want. All we got to do is obey and listen to their side of the story. Oof. All right. There we go. This is an 11 millimeter lens, which on my camera makes it like 16.5 millimeters, I think, for those of you who are into photography. Cheers. All right. Let's throw a little more firewood on here. Hey, good morning, Stanley. And Jennifer and Royce are in Oklahoma, and you're still getting frost. That's just wild. Throw in 2 kids. Yeah. Now, the thing is, I mean, having a family, that's stress you can deal with in normal circumstances. But yeah, they doesn't make it easier when they're throwing all that chaos at you, and then raising kids. But you got teenage kids to boot, don't you? And from what I hear, that's even more chaos. Can you see Maddie out there? Yep, she's out there. She loves sitting out, watching things, keeping a watch over her domain. It's all brainwashing us. If you're not actively seeing it, then you're passively accepting it. That's just how it works. All these people on social media, everybody thinks they have original thoughts. Nobody really has original thoughts. It's all a narrative that's been given to them, and they take. And even our culture is based on those thoughts that were stronger than the ones in the past. Like, all the philosophers that competed with each other for their philosophies to take root, and the modernists won out. There were people with other views, other philosophies that they're pushing, but modernity won out and took over, and we're the result of that. And you realize that if you ever go visit another people group that isn't Western civilization based, they have a completely different way of thinking. And if you do that, you start to realize, oh, my thinking is really influenced by, it's just highly influenced. We just think what is around us and what we're taught. And that's why public school is so important to the West, because they know that. It's all of us normies that don't know it, unless you open your eyes to it, or your eyes are open to it. It's all by design to keep control. Yes, it is. And I can't believe how, when the media and the social media and the politicians are all targeted at one thing, that people fall for it. I just don't understand that, but that's the way of the people. To me, that's just a big, major billboard saying, this thing is what's good for you people. That's why we're all joining forces to attack it, because we don't want that getting out. And I'm studying John. I want to start doing videos. I did that live video where I tried to do the book of John in a live video, and I didn't like it. But that's a story in John. The Pharisees, the religious leaders, didn't like what Jesus was saying because it takes power away from them. So they attacked Jesus, and they rallied up the people to attack Jesus, not because they were thinking about other people. They were thinking about their own positions of power and control. I mean, it's just age old. It's the story of Jesus. The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun that has already been done. Don't know if that saying is correct, but heard it all my life. Yeah, there's nothing new under the sun. Yep. We just got to look for patterns and recognize it. And And then there's those who do say that the progressivism, that they're trying to do something new, and that's folly. Like, no, you're not, and the fact that you're denying it means that you're misled, or you're trying to mislead by telling people that that you think you're doing something new. Anyway, wow, didn't mean to go dark there, but there's some brightness coming in. Maybe we'll see some sunshine out here today. What's up, Maddie girl? Oh, yeah. Sun's peeking through the clouds. That's fantastic. So anyway, just as the sun is illuminating the sky, there are people illuminating the world. There's a lot of people coming to better ideas. We'll see, though. We'll see what can happen when the government when the heat comes on, because the people start waking up to what's going on. Like with the Epstein files, now a whole lot more people are now aware. The same people who laughed at the Pizzagate claims are now furious, but of course they're furious at Donald Trump, because that's what they're told to focus it. Anyway, well, I am excited to start these videos on the book of John, because John lays out, he lays out the most organized theology or philosophy of all the four gospels, where he doesn't write chronologically. He writes the events to make his points, and his points are all consistent from the beginning to the end. The other books aren't like that. They're more like story. They have a purpose that they were written for, but not as distinctly as John wrote his, because he starts it out with this philosophical claim that meant a lot in the time of Jesus and the time of the Romans, because I think I mentioned this before, where the Greeks, Romans adopted a lot of philosophy from the Greeks, as we all know, and they had a saying that there was chaos, and out of that chaos came the gods, and then we created order, and that really influences how you look at that. Influences how you think about the world. Like the Greeks were very big on philosophy and their cities, their city-states, and their civilization. They were very proud of it and their culture, and their culture eventually spread around the world with Alexander the Great spread it around, and then Rome adopted it. But you can see, if you think about that, you can think how, if you believe that in the beginning was chaos, and we humans created these great city-states and trade and development between each other, then it kind of creates a humanism. You're humanistic because you believe that power and order come through humans. And then, and Rome had great pride in Rome. You know, they had all kinds of sayings how amazing it was, and it was amazing. It was the biggest civilization, the biggest empire in history, and the most developed, the most advanced, and they did not hesitate to take pride in it. And you can see how that would be a very humanistic approach, that humans are what create order, and the gods all fight, and there's chaos that the gods came out of. I'm no expert on Roman philosophy, but from what I looked up. And then here comes John. They say it was written around 100 AD to 200 AD that it was written down. I personally believe he was probably whoever was sharing the thoughts and ideas, and then they wrote it down. So I don't know. We don't know when the system came up. But anyway, he opens his book up in the midst of all of Rome with its Greek history of believing in chaos, and out of that chaos comes the order that men create. And he says, in the beginning was order. The Logos. In the beginning was this order, and it was with God, and the order was God. And so he's proposing that the very start of everything was actually God and his rules and laws and order. And from that, all things were created. So that takes the emphasis off of humans. And that means that the chaos comes from us, which I think is way more true. We see it because the law of gravity doesn't change, but we do. We say we're going to do things. We try to do good. We end up doing bad. We thwart our own plans subconsciously. But that which is good remains. And it's us who diverge from what's good. We come back to it. And even our civilizations seem to get worse if we don't fight real hard to maintain them. So it's humans that create chaos, and the order exists and has always existed. And so that's the introduction of John. And then he introduces some more. And then after that, it's all these stories. Like I said, they're not in order. He just takes these stories to make his point of that order coming to earth to his creation, and his creation rejecting him and not knowing him. And we see what that means as it plays out in his interactions with the religious leaders, with the commoners. There's the people who follow him around, the masses, like when, the story of feeding the 5,000 with fish and loaves. That was because these people all were hanging out to hear Jesus talk. And, and then it got late and they didn't have food, so he fed them. And so that's part of the characters. It's like a play. I want to write a play about it where the characters are, Jesus, the religious leaders, the Romans, the common people, and then his disciples and his friends. And because, like I say, the whole book is all about Jesus challenging these people and the different reactions coming from each party. And so that's how we learn about it. That's how it's like a storytelling device that John uses, is that so truth comes to earth, and then his interactions with people is how we learn about what's true, what's spiritual, what's worldly. And that's what I'm going to talk about in these upcoming videos, if I ever get them started. But that's why I really like the book of John. I see all these people I've been listening to these videos of this guy who debates. He's a Greek Orthodox, religious-wise, and he debates with all these OnlyFans models and atheists and even Christians and conservatives and progressives. And it's so weird to me. I always hear these claims that, like one gal said, well, Jesus was like a hippie. He loved everybody. And he always did nice things. And I hear that claim a lot about Jesus, and I just don't see it in the Gospels. I mean, I think Jesus is good. He's the definition of good. But I don't see him living out our definition of good. And yet that's what people how do they try to depict him, as though he would be nice to everybody. That's more of what it is. People are like, oh, he would be nice to everyone. But he wasn't. He actually, because, like the whole trans movement, people try to claim that Jesus would have just loved him because he hung out with tax collectors and sinners, or prostitutes. But the thing that Jesus did was he told everybody, hey, you're a sinner. Stop it. That's how, he didn't go to the tax collector and say, oh, you mean well. He hung out with tax collectors and he told them, what you do is wrong. He told the prostitute, or I guess she was prostitute, the one that at the well, he told her, he revealed her sins to her. And if you do that to these people that say Jesus was nice, they get all bent out of shape. You can't judge me. You can't tell me I'm in sin. It's like, okay, so you don't know anything about Jesus in the Bible. The point was that he revealed their sins to them. He knew their sins, and he told them it was bad, but yet he valued their dignity. That's a huge difference from pride. So it's amazing to me, John the Baptist at the end of his life was like, are really the one that is supposed to come, or do we wait for another? John knew he was the one. Oh yeah, John the Baptist. Now John the Baptist is different from John the Gospel of John. But yeah, John the Baptist, he was, he called himself a voice crying in the wilderness. As they came to him and said, who are you? Are you the prophet? Are you, what did they say to him? Asking, how important are you? Why should we listen to you? And he, that's worldly thinking. That's fleshly ego way of thinking. And that was the religious leaders. And he told them, hey, I'm nobody. I'm nothing. That was his response. And it's like a slap in the face to these people who are spiritual leaders and can't think spiritually, because they're all about ego, and they assumed he was too. And they also had this strong belief, and we have it today, maybe not as clearly, but that whoever came before was greater. Like Moses was great, Abraham was greater than Moses, and then because Abraham was first, and then Moses, and then King David, and so that's why when Jesus said, "I am greater," they said, "How can that be? You aren't pre-Moses, you're not pre-Abraham, you're not pre-David, you're not before the prophets, you came after them. How can you be greater than them?" And Jesus said, well, because I always was, because I come from the Father. So he challenged their way of thinking. And so it doesn't tear down that way of thinking. That's how you kind of used to think about it. But it just means that that spiritually he was before them physically doesn't matter. They're focused on the physical. But he says, because I'm outside of this world, I was before, and the physical doesn't take precedence. But they just think in terms of the physical realm. And that's what the book of John is about. And so my goal is to share the philosophy of it without getting into the theology of it, which is something that not a lot of, that I haven't heard of yet. Somebody sent me a video of a guy saying that he was sharing the philosophy of John, but it was just the theology of John. That's what I've been talking about so far. Really, was more like the theology, the philosophy. The reason that I want to talk about that is because I used to do these discussions with atheists and other religions on Reddit, and I would go in there and people would post and we'd discuss in the comments, or I'd post and try to get discussions, and people can't discuss very well, but you always get some people that can. And I'd see these atheists making arguments about how nonsensical it was. And so I thought to myself, what if we just take the ideas that it's teaching and challenge these ideas and not get into the weeds of how could Jesus be born from a virgin, or we don't have any manuscripts from 30 AD, so how do we know that Jesus even existed? All of these things that the atheists all focus on. And I don't think it's bad to look into that stuff. Used to be when I was religious, I couldn't challenge those things, but because that's the stuff that keeps people from. Those issues are what keep people from thinking that the Bible has anything good to offer, and that's where I'm coming from. Is that I think that the philosophies of the Bible are superior. Or how can we even know if they're superior or not if we never discuss them? If all we ever talk about is how could Jesus raise from the dead? Like, okay, well, let's take those issues. Let's take those issues out. That's the theology. And let's just focus on the philosophy, like the Golden Rule. That's a philosophical idea that doesn't rely on any of the Bible being true to discuss the Golden Rule. Because in fact, if I remember right, there were other versions of the Golden Rule. Oh wait, no, maybe not. Maybe it was, there were other versions of the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth thing. So I think if I remember right, the Golden Rule is unique to the Bible, but it's not reliant. You can talk about the Golden Rule and be an atheist, in other words. Oh yeah, Royce I guess that's Royce, just brought up a good point. I'll get to that in a second. And so I want to just take these philosophical ideas and challenge them and challenge other ideas with the idea that these are superior concepts, superior ways of living. And I do think that the Golden Rule is a superior way of living. And another example would be where you can approach this as an atheist. Like Plato had the ideal, the ideal of a chair, that on earth, the perfect chair doesn't exist, but there is such a thing as the perfect chair, the ideal, and people who make chairs seek to make the best chair that they can, but it'll always be flawed because we're all flawed here on earth. And And that can be that's a concept that gets pushed into Christianity. I don't know if it was supposed to be originally, or if later Christianity formed around Platonic thought, but that's the idea that God is perfect, Jesus is perfect, humanity is flawed, and so we try to live up to the perfection, but we know we never do. But that's a whole lot better concept. So you take that philosophy, and there doesn't need to be a God. I believe there is a God, but there doesn't need to be in order to entertain that idea that humans are all flawed and that there is perfection, or there's an idea of perfection that we should strive for. Because that would keep up debates of like creating the Constitution or a government system. That is where we would bother to debate what's the best way to organize society for the most good, knowing that we won't, but that there is such a thing as the best good. Versus what we're dealing with these days, it's the really strong opposition, which is basically progressivism, is that they don't believe in, they believe in that everything is relative, and that there is no such thing as good and bad outside of what humans construct. And so their belief is more that humans decide what's good and bad, and that's why we get this trans movement, that they believe that it hurts less people if we change kids' genders than if you don't. And so they have this idea of whatever creates the most good. And that's what this guy debates, and he exposes how poorly they construct their ideas. There is no basis for it. This guy Andrew Wilson, he's getting more popular. I don't know how popular he is, but definitely more popular lately. And so he exposes their ways of thinking. Anyway, Jesus' disciples had trouble in some of the things Jesus did, or even said, it makes me think they were right there with him and they had trouble understanding, but how much am I off on the... Yes, that's one of the main points of John, is that even his disciples didn't know what he was talking about, which is huge to me, because one of my biggest beefs, especially in the history world and everything, is just how certain everybody has to be. And this is even Christians. Christians and conservatives are just as bad as liberals. They may not come up with as many evil insults as quickly, but this is one of the main things about the book of John. Is the point is, all these people are so certain, and yet they don't know what they're talking about. And that's what you run into on social media and everything. In the Old West history, everybody's really certain, so certain about what they think, but when you challenge them, they either just stay silent, because that's how they win an argument. By not answering. I'm not gonna contend with a fool. People won't be able to tell me from the other one. It's like, well, you are a fool, and you're just using tools to convince yourself that you're not, by not engaging. And that's the best reason to engage, is to find out that is to be humble. That, oh, I thought I was so right, and then I tried to argue my point with somebody and they dismantled it. Okay, I need to rethink. But man, that's a nightmare for most people. And that's what we see, is all this certainty. And that's what's so great about this debater that I keep talking about, Andrew Wilson. He's very logical, and he understands the rules of logic and debate. And so he takes these people that are so certain about what they believe, and yet they have no basis for it, like no logical system to back it up. And a lot of people are actually coming around. Like he says, he gets a lot of messages from people saying, "Hey, after thinking about it, I realized that I didn't know what I was talking about," that kind of thing. Anyway, and that's what the book of John shows, is that Jesus knows the truth, and he intentionally speaks in riddles and that kind of stuff. And what he's doing is he's exposing the hearts of everybody. Like he says, he performs a great miracle. This is how John sets it up. Jesus does a miracle, and then the people listen while he talks. And so Jesus will do some incredible miracle, and everybody's, wow, this guy's amazing. And then he tells them something that to them doesn't make sense. And so immediately, a lot of people start accusing him of being dumb or evil or whatever. They quit following, like John will say. And then at that point, a lot of people stopped following him. Which you can see, like the human heart there. It's like, oh, wow, the miracle is amazing. But did you hear what he just said? It makes no sense to me. And because I'm God, he's wrong. He just performed a miracle, but what he said is silly. And so I'm going to stay away from that guy. And that's so much the attitude of people. Like if you say something, I run into this a lot because I've been testing this for years. I'll make a claim, I'll say something, and you can just watch people. They make zero effort to understand what you said, and instead they will apply their own meaning to what you say, to what I say, and then they will ridicule me based on their interpretation of what I said. And that's how you reveal people's hearts. That's what Jesus did. Was he wasn't trying to get people to follow him. He didn't have a problem with that. He was trying to get people to not follow him or to understand their hearts. That was the purpose. That was Jesus's purpose in the book of John, by exposing people's hearts to them. Because that is what is spiritual, and that's what is wise, is a humble heart. And that's the issue. The issue wasn't that Jesus needed followers. Funny that we have followers today. The issue was that Jesus needed people. This is part of the philosophy. He needed people to understand that they don't know everything, and to be open to learning, not closed off and knowing. And if you test people, I test people like this all the time. I studied the book of John years ago and learned a lot of this stuff and adopted the methods, and it really does expose people. I don't intentionally say riddles. I'll just say stuff, and you can make a really neutral statement, and you can watch some people get offended, and some people just be like, "You don't know what you're talking about," and then some people misinterpret. Very, very, very rarely do you ever get the right response, which the right response would be clarifying questions. Oh, what do you mean by this? Okay, let me make sure I understand you. Are you saying this, this, and this? And then waiting for an explanation. Oh, me. Oh, I see how you misunderstood what I'm saying. Let me clarify that part for you. And it's particularly bad when I was trying to hire people for work. Like, you would think that somebody coming on to a job would ask a bunch of clarifying questions and then accept the job. Instead, what I found out about people is that somebody would be working for me and have a completely wrong idea about what I was doing. But because in his mind, he understood and he didn't have to ask clarifying questions. And anyway, that's what this book of John is about and why I want to do it. I think that the ideas presented are really powerful and very, very pertinent. I think that when you understand them, it makes sense of everything that's going on with people. And by putting it out there on videos, then I can have people challenge it. And maybe the book of John is wrong. Maybe I'm interpreting it wrong. So I throw it out there and get it challenged. But of course, what will happen is some people will eat it up, and then some people will just say it's nonsense. And so that's the worst part of being a hiring, is the managing or hiring part. Yeah, I figured out if I could go back, I would not have been trying to run. I was trying to build a business and to be a realtor, which every realtor has his own business. But I mean, I was trying to build a business besides. And in retrospect, I really regret that. If I could go back, I would have just been a realtor. I would have had one employee, maybe two, because of the way that I organized things. But I would not be trying to build a business. And had I done that, I think about it too often. Had I done it that way, I'd be at least a millionaire right now. All the money that I missed out on. I was making tons of money. I was so busy as a realtor, and burned myself out. That's why I know a little bit about stress. Because I'll give you an example just for kicks. So 2013, but especially 14, the economy was coming back around. Like house sales in 13, they were starting to pick up. And by 2014, house sales were really on the rise. Prices were on the rise. And then, of course, 15, 16, they were even, it didn't slow down. It ramped up. And this gal from the first office that I was at, this gal that I worked with and was friends with, she and I saw each other at a business group where you meet people from all kinds of businesses come together and then they refer each other. It's a networking type of a thing. And I saw her, and whenever I'd see her, we'd always talk. And she said, "Man, things are crazy right now." She said, and then she said it in a quiet voice, "Richard, I've got 10 people under contract right now," which is a lot. I mean, that's a lot. Now, I didn't tell her that at that very moment, I had 18 under contract. I had almost double what she had. I didn't tell her because I didn't want to sound like I was bragging, and because her point of having 10 was a good point. I mean, just because I had 18 didn't mean that she was not extremely busy also. But that's how busy I was. The problem with me, I had a lot of lower priced stuff because I was building, and I hadn't been a realtor for very long, so I was taking whatever work I could get. Back then, the average sale price of a home was $180,000 here. And so I had a lot of business from 100 to 200, which made for great commissions, good money. But that means me hustling to get 18 under contract was more work to make the same amount of money as what some people made with 5. But that's just part of growth. Had I stayed with it, anyway, I'm getting off track there. But I'm happy to talk about real estate if anybody's got questions. But anyway, I understand stress. I guess that was the point. Yeah. I was very busy, and I was helping a lot of home buyers in the real estate world, it takes about probably 5 times on average, probably 5 times as much work to help a buyer buy a house than it does to help a seller sell a house. That's why anybody who's been in real estate very long, you really want to go after listings. You really want to sell houses because it's so much less work and the same money. But I had a way of generating a lot of business by getting buyers, and the money was incredible. You know, from a guy that used to spend it all day on a shovel working construction to make $14 an hour. That kind of work was very welcomed. It was fun. I had a Lexus SUV and loved that car. And I paid less for it than most people paid for their crappy cars. Because I know how to buy cars. Anyway, stress and hiring people and knowing rather than learning. All of this stuff. Well, stress not so much in the Gospel of John, but the other parts are what the Gospel of John is about. And it's a good philosophy for life. That's my point. Whether you want to be religious or not, or whether you want to be spiritual or not, I think it has sound philosophy for how people should live. Speaking of followers, I think I'm losing followers, assuming the numbers are correct. Han. Hey, you're the Netherlands guy, right? You're playing solitaire. That's funny. I used to love playing solitaire while watching the Three Amigos movie. And I recently found my card deck. This was my favorite deck of cards. And so lately I've been playing solitaire too. I love in the evening sitting with a TV show going. I've been watching WKRP or Sledgehammer, old 80s and 70s TV shows while playing solitaire. Oh, Finland. That's right. Finland. Yes. Thank you. Hey, because I see what you mean now about Finland starting xylitol, because I learned more about xylitol. That, yeah, you guys are the ones who started like really utilizing it. And I bought some. I'm going to see if it helps my teeth. Hopefully it doesn't mess up my digestion. In fact, so I bought the granulated form because I don't like gum. And I thought I'd be able to swish this around in my mouth and spit it out. But as you can see, it's like sugar and it just dissolves. So the method I'm using, you take some of that after every time you eat. You're supposed to do it like 10 times a day or something like that. And they say it's really healthy for your teeth. So anyway, I'm glad you're I wanted to say that. So anyway, I hope this is interesting to people. I mean, some of you are sticking around. I'm going to put this video together. I'm going to try to make it a decent quality video. That's why I took down the live video that I did. It was just, it didn't work. And so I'm going to try to make it where I'm not jumping all over the place and staying focused on the points. And so hopefully I'll come out with that first video pretty soon. Just trying to figure out where to film it with a good backdrop, whether I do it outdoors or if I do it in my old cabin with the cloth background that I've used before. So that's for this channel. The other channel, I want to get out. It's just been so miserably cold that I haven't done it. Also, snow is hard to ride horses in because you get these snowballs on their feet. It's really weird. and they're walking on snowballs. So I don't like riding in the snow because of that. So anyway, for the other channel, I'm hoping to make some videos of me doing historical horse rides. So anyway, that's what's going on. Hey, how about that? We've hit an hour. Well, any questions, comments? If not, just might move on to the next thing, which might be cutting some firewood and bringing that in. And I should sweep. This dang floor gets, I need to sweep it every few days, really. That's what I should do. Instead, I do it once a week. Sunday is my cleaning day. Organization. So anyway, I guess I'll bring this to an end. Since nobody's got questions or comments, it seems. Let's look outside if we can. If it's too bright. Let's see. Nope, way too bright. How about that? Oh, here we go. There. Let's change the f-stop on it. See, lots of beautiful snow. Beautiful, beautiful snow. Which means I may not be able to drive to town for a few days. This is going to create more mud. Snow is great. The mud sucks. So it's going to create a whole ton of mud. And who knows, maybe I won't be able to drive to town. That's all right. Yeah. Royce asked how much firewood I use. You know, I don't know. I'm hoping this year to actually cut and stack my firewood. Because in the past, I always just throw it in a pile. But so it's hard to know how much I use. But this year, I would like to get it stacked, even if I don't cut it, but at least stack it so that I've got it in cords and easily measured. And that way, next winter, I can see how many cords I go through. But really, I don't think I went through maybe 2 cords. I don't think I even used 2 cords. I think I maybe used a cord this year. You know, going off of the pile that I had, I've cleaned up all this, the firewood that I had for a couple of years, so it was the most dry. But I'd be surprised if I used 2 cords so far. Like at the beginning of February, the stack that I thought I would probably burn through was barely burned through. There's a small cabin in my family forest built by my brother when he was in school. I keep thinking about what it would like to live there. It would be awesome, I can tell you that. As long as it's well insulated, and then it needs to be mouse proof. That's what I have found. This one, I sealed this one off on the bottom so that mice couldn't get in. And but anyway, I bet it would be awesome. It's so easy to live in a small cabin in the wilderness. I think the hardest part is staying productive, but that's more about being by myself, I think. than being. Yeah, I think that's more about what it is. Some people are more motivated when they're by themselves. Oh man. Yeah, when I camped out, when I moved to my other property, I camped with a tarp tent. And it took a long time before the mice started coming in. You know, I was probably there for 3 weeks before the mice started figuring out they could go through my stuff at night. I'm pretty sure I had one go right over my face. The mouse ran over my face. And that's when I decided, all right, I got to move. So, yeah, it's annoying when the mice are bad. But I was surprised because, like Nesmuk, you know, he tells people, oh, you have to clean your dishes after every meal or else you'll attract bugs and mice. And yet I've camped in the same place on that property. I think I camped for 2 months, if I remember right, in 2 different locations. And the bugs weren't bad and the mice weren't bad. It got bad at the one place after, like I said, like 2 or 3 weeks. But Nesmuk was talking about camping 1 night, 2 nights. But he was also back east. Maybe things are way different out there. But sorry to any Boy Scouts watching this. I just think it's a waste of water. When I got this pan, the next time I'm going to use it, it's going to get up to like 600 degrees. So it'll kill any bacteria on it. And I don't have bugs coming in here. The only thing that would be a concern for me would be dust. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. And my drinking cup, whoa, still got water in it. It dries out. So I don't think that, that's the benefits of living in a dry area. Oh, stupid question. How long will that wood stove last? You know, I'm not the guy to ask. The guy I got it from said, hey, it's got some rust on the back that needs to be sanded off and painted. And I told him, I don't care about that. Because I got to figure out about wood stoves. Because look at this. The door is wide open. Back when I had a house and I heard a friend told me about these wood stoves that are super efficient that are being made these days. And they cost like $3,000, $5,000, but they would like double burn, and you could burn a chunk of firewood for like 24 hours. So it made a lot of sense for using firewood. But to me at that point, it's like, well, why don't I just use my natural gas furnace that's not like a wood stove where you got the door open and enjoy the wood heat. Like you're close to it. Anyway, I called one of those guys because I wanted to look into it. And he said, well, we'll come out and inspect your wood stove. And I said, well, what do you look for in an inspection? He said cracks, because if it's got cracks, then it can leak CO2 or whatever. But I'm thinking to myself, what? I got the door wide open. How is a crack going to be worse than having the door open? And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm saying that makes sense logically. I got the door wide open. I got it cracked most of the time. At night, I shut it down. Sometimes during the day, I'll close the door, shut it down, and then it keeps it warm enough. But mostly, I got the door wide open, and they're telling me that a crack is going to kill me. So I don't know. Maybe there's stuff going on that I don't know. I went through this recent issue where I did have buildup in the stovepipe, and that was creating gas and making me dizzy, and it was pretty bad. So now that I've gone through that, I realize maybe there's some stuff going on that I don't know about. And maybe I need to switch, because I care about health, but maybe this has been damaging me and I don't even know it. So that's why I say, I don't know. If you asked me a year ago how long a wood stove lasts, I'd say until it falls apart. Because I had that cast iron one that I was using in the teepee and stuff, and it was literally, I was always wondering if it was just going to fall apart. So a fireplace in a house is open. Well, some that doesn't have glass doors. Yeah, see? But then our ancestors weren't necessarily doing things that were safe. I mean, like when I was in South Africa, they would bring a fire right inside the house. The whole place was smoky, and they didn't realize that smoke is dangerous. Nor did I when I was a teenager. I used to sit right in the smoke because all I cared about was being tough. And I didn't know that breathing it wasn't healthy. I just thought it was an annoyance. And I'm like, well, I can deal with the annoyance. That doesn't bother me. I was really had this mind over matter thing going on when I was young, and I didn't even know it. But anyway, I don't know. Maybe I need to switch to my diesel heater, or at least find out, make this more safe. But that's why I keep the door open a lot, so that I got plenty of fresh air in here too, even at night. That's why I don't have a door that closes. I don't really want a door that closes snug. It always has fresh air coming in. Whew. Well, I'm going to make some more coffee. And I think that xylitol might have gave me a headache. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to cope with that xylitol. I've only used it a few times so far, and it doesn't seem to really agree with me. Maybe I'm allergic to birch trees, because I bought the kind there's different kinds of xylitol, and I bought the one that is, it's 100% birch. It's made 100% from birch. There's other ways of getting xylitol, so maybe I'll have to try those. But I liked this one for obvious reasons, because it's like, natural. I guess it was boiling and I had no idea. I've got my cabinet up high because I'm 6 feet tall, and I've never liked how cabinets are so low. You gotta bend over to cut onions. So I elevated it so that it comes up to like here on me, so I can stand up straight, cut onions, or do whatever. But when I'm sitting here doing a video, it's kind of high. Look at that fire burning down to nothing. Yet it's keeping it warm in here. So nice. I heat my place with a wood stove and open fireplace. You got two going, Stanley? Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, it feels like the draft is the most important thing, but again, I don't know. Maybe some of those CO2 fumes are impervious to a drafty breeze. I don't know. But man, I was so dizzy. I'm glad I figured out what it was, because I'd get out of bed and I'd fall over. And I'd walk outside and I'd almost fall over. And I didn't know what was causing it. I posted on Facebook to get other people's ideas. And of course, some people just say it's your wood stove without knowing, the specifics. But it wasn't the wood stove, because I've used a wood stove for years. It was the buildup in the stovepipe from burning sagebrush. I've got 2 piles now from cleaning this stovepipe out. It's like potato chips, these black potato chip looking things. And I'd look in the wood stove and it was all like flakes on the side, big flakes. And that's what was burning and releasing gas. Yeah, it was weird. It was bad. So now, I don't know if it's low blood sugar or gas when I move my head really fast and I feel dizzy. Ooh, look at that. Because it's down to nothing. They say you're not supposed to use boiling water for coffee, but the main rule about coffee is however you like it is the right way to make it. But anyway, I've been boiling coffee. I've tried cooling it off to see if it brings out a better flavor, and I don't notice any difference, but that could be because of my preference for how I like my coffee. But, according to the rules, but also when I found out about those rules, they say you're supposed to use 180 or maximum 190 degrees. I think it was like French press 190. But then I also found out, remember that stupid case where that woman spilled her McDonald's coffee on her lap and sued them because it was hot? And she won. Crap. Oh, shoot. I forgot what I was doing. I use hot water to warm up my mug. I forgot to dump it out. Doggone it. Oh well, I don't need that much coffee anyway. Anyway, it was that ruling where that woman got sued. No, the woman sued McDonald's and won. And that's when restaurants decided, or were told, or whatever, the insurance companies and attorneys told them that you can't make coffee over 180 degrees. So that's why it's now regulated that, because insurance companies and lawyers run everything. They're even running our coffee production now. And so now I believe that's why all these coffee experts say 180 degrees is the optimum temperature for coffee. I don't think it's because it's the optimum temperature for coffee. I think it's because the insurance companies have regulated that. And so now it's leaked out into all the coffee making stuff. Because who pushes how do you make coffee? Well, companies like Starbucks, because they're the ones coming up with the standard. And then all these other businesses, it's not private people at home saying, here's how you make the optimum cup of coffee. It's primarily businesses. And so probably none of you even knew that they say coffee is optimum brewing temp of 180. It's like tea, you boil it. coffee, 180, 185. But I think it's BS. That's my whole point. I use boiling water all the time. It tastes great. Oh, cool. Yeah, at my house, my old Craftsman house, I loved that house. It was a 1920s, really cool Craftsman. And I had a cabin room in the back, what I called it. It was all lined with pine siding, oak floor. And I had a wood stove back there. And then in the living room, I had a fireplace. And I just felt like a wealthy man, a rich man when I had both fires going. I loved it. We had Thanksgiving there a couple times, my family. Because it was a pretty big house. Han says, I saved my younger brother and his friend from a smoke sauna on past Christmas. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. They were completely drunk and apparently weren't bothered by the smoke. Yeah, that's scary. People getting drunk and doing things that are dangerous. Good thing you found them. Great coffee, but I only made half a cup because of that. I forgot to empty it out. So speaking of wood siding, I got to finish this place. I got flooring, and I need to put the flooring in and then finish that wall, but I'm going to put a window in that wall. And then I probably won't do corner strips of trim. Where it butts up in the corner, it looks just fine to me. And so really it's the roof and the flooring and this wall and then the exterior siding. And then this cabin will look really nice. And then I can put it up for Airbnb. Well, then I can live in it while I remodel my bigger cabin and then put them both up for Airbnb. That's what that's the goal now. That's the plan. All right, folks. Well, I guess I'll call it quits now. And we can all thank Royce for texting me so that I remembered to do this. Not that I didn't want to do it. I woke up remembering, but I kept forgetting throughout this morning. And at 8:20, Royce reminded me and I jumped to it. So anyway, thanks, Royce. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. And maybe, who knows, maybe we'll see a John video this week. I just got to figure out where I'm going to film it. And I emptied out the cabin, so I can use that. For those of you who might remember, when I had my green chair and my backdrop, it looked pretty cool, particularly for Old West. So anyway, so we'll see. I just enjoy the company. Yeah, likewise. So yeah, glad we enjoy this. And so thanks everybody that watched it. And if you got any comments or questions, do them now, because otherwise I'm going to click end stream. And remember, life's a lot more fun over here on the creek side, which is also coincidentally on the wild side.